Welcome back. As you can tell, we're back at Undiscovered, my strength and conditioning lab where I'm putting in all my work this off season, and I'm going to need it if I hope to one day get to where today's guest is. I am Grayson Knight, and this is Baseball Podcasts Are Fun. Today, we have the Detroit Tigers AA first baseman and catcher who didn't just show up in 22, he put on a show. Quincy Nieporte led all of AA in home runs. But as we'll find out, it doesn't come from luck. So let's get to it. Please welcome today's guest, Quincy. Thanks for being here, Q. How are you?
Awesome, dude. Thanks for having me.
So before we start, before we did this interview, you saw my swing a few times. How would you rate it?
I'd give it out of 10. I'd say you got a solid 7.5 from me.
Okay, what do I need to improve on it?
I think whatever you're going to improve on is just going to be natural and God-given. The stronger and more mature you get, I think the more you're going to be able to control it. But what you did better than I'd say most kids your age do is your head stays very quiet. And that is something that us old guys are trying to do on a regular basis. There's a lot of guys that can't do it as well as you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if you keep that thought process of keeping your head quiet, you're going to be in for a lot of fun and a lot of success in your baseball career moving forward.
Thank you.
Of course.
I want to get like one or two lessons with you before you head back to wherever you're going next. Speaking of that, are you going to any winter ball leagues?
No. I got an invitation to go to Culiacan, Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I turned it down. There's going to be a little bit of changes for my career in terms of defensive positioning. I wanted to be able to give it the true time it needs to be able to develop that. And I know it's a tough position, but I want to be able to give it my best shot.
Why Mexico?
It's a good league. It's a good winter ball league. There's a lot of really good baseball out there, and they were really interested in me. I think we had some connections throughout the year in AA, and they saw me play and they wanted to see if I was interested in playing. So I was grateful for that.
Any of your teammates going?
Several. Yeah. I mean, there's a few guys that are interested in playing. I'm not sure if they're going to Mexico or if they're going to be going to Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic.
Maldi's going to Puerto Rico.
Yeah. So there's a lot of winter leagues. Some guys go to Australia, some Venezuela, Colombia. So there's a good bit of guys that will go overseas and continue to play.
So since Maldi recently got called up to AAA, did you face Maldonado?
No,
you didn't.
I haven't.
You've
never. Nope,
never.
Lucky for him, right?
Yeah. He is 32, maybe.
Yeah. No, I'll let him know the next time we face each other.
So let's rewind for a moment.
Okay.
I'm from Florida, and my folks are Gators by heart. But you went to FSU, right?
I did. How do I want to turn off the podcast? Telling me something like that.
Oh, we call it Florida Stinks University.
I know you do. Yeah, everyone I encounter, they say, don't stop in Gainesville. The water will get you sick.
So there's no rivalry here. We're gonna get along.
All right.
What years were you there at FSU?
2015, 16, and 17.
And before college, you grew up in Long Island, New York?
Actually, South Florida. We spent some time in Long Island, New York. My mom's a professional golf instructor, so she goes up there every summer. I went caddying from when I was 11 years old until I was in college. So we would work, and we grew up in South Florida, Boca Raton, if you're familiar with the area, and it's just north of Fort Lauderdale for people listening that don't know exactly where the mouth of the rat is located. But yeah, Long Island, South Florida, and Atlanta.
Does your mom support baseball? Because
golf
is like the not really the opposite, but like you swing like this in baseball, but you go like uppercut in golf.
So my mom couldn't be any more supportive of baseball. She is probably the most consistent person I talk to throughout a season. When I go good, I hear it from her. When I go bad, I hear it from her. And she's the first one to give me some tips, something she sees on a TV screen from 2,000 miles away. She thinks I'm doing this wrong, and I hear it from her, and I think it's awesome. It gets under my skin, and we have a really funny relationship in that regard. But when you've got a mom that's been a professional instructor for something for 3 decades, you got to be able to trust her, listen to what she's got to say, and realize that she's actually probably right more so than not. And I think for our family, we cut that kind of misconception of the baseball swing is different than the golf swing, and we throw that out the window. I think that it's so connected. When you really break it down and you watch, say, a guy swinging a little harder in golf, swinging long drive competitions, and you pair him up with Shohei Ohtani, you're not going to see a very big difference in body movement. So it's something very interesting that if guys love hitting and are gurus with hitting and want to learn everything they can, they broaden their horizon of what they know and try some different swing sports.
Did you ever play golf?
Yeah, a
For
ton.
how long?
I'm still doing it, still trying to.
Just like in a free
I do it as a hobby. My brother played golf in college on scholarship. My mom's the golf pro. I've got some uncles golf pros, and my grandfather started us all off as a golf pro. So.
As I was saying before the interview, golf VR.
Yeah, I need to get on some golf. Well, golf VR would be a lot less stressful for me than having to go chase my ball in the woods as often as I do.
You could just put your ball anywhere.
Yeah, I like that.
How old were you when you started playing baseball?
I want to say 3 years old, and I didn't start in baseball. I started on my sister's softball team.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was either too young to play t-ball, or my mom just liked being able to have 2 kids on the same team.
Okay.
And less spots and all that. So it was fun. My sister's 3 years older than me. So obviously being a guy, I didn't want to play a girls sport, but I figured the age canceled that out. Plus girls are better than guys when they're younger.
Yeah. Did you besides golf, did you play any other sports?
I played them all. I played tennis a lot actually growing up, basketball as long as I could. I started football when I moved to Georgia, so 7th grade was my first year. Did a little bit in New York, but not long. But basically 7th grade was the first time doing football. Swam a lot as a little kid. So pretty much as a Floridian, you know it, growing up, get outside as much as possible.
On the beach?
Yep.
Did you what part of Florida do you live in?
The East Coast.
Okay, so you got a
lot of beach time. I actually hate the beach because of it. We went there so often. I was the kid that would dig holes, so I got beached out. But now I miss it.
You miss it so much.
I wouldn't say so much, but I miss it.
Well, you're getting close to it now.
Yeah.
So does the AA Detroit play in Detroit?
No, they play in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's far.
It is far, and it's not the most fun.
Okay.
But it is far.
I was about to say this. You should get into pickleball.
The first time I ever played pickleball was last week, and I love it.
I love it so much.
It was a ton of fun, yeah. Because we played tennis growing up, and so when I started to see pickleball, I was like, wow, this for a bigger guy, I don't have to run as much.
No matter who you are, if you hit the ball as hard as you can, it won't go anywhere.
Sometimes there's some like I think it was a wind current, and it definitely went far.
But because it's like a wiffle ball.
Yeah.
And you just hit it so light, it just and then it's just back and forth.
See, my issue was hitting it too soft. And I'd hit it soft into the net because you can't put topspin on pickleball, which I learned the hard way about 10 to 15 times in a row. Yeah.
So playing baseball is fun. We know this. But getting good means a lot of work that can sometimes be very hard. What were you doing to keep the game fun while also proving your dedication?
I think it's just how you view the game. I've been fortunate to never lose sight that baseball is a game. It's a sport that you start off at a young age. You're going through it right now. I'm 28 years old and still lucky to be able to play it. I've got family and friends throughout that have office jobs that tell me, hey, don't stop playing until you're forced to. And that's just kind of what I've always thought. Money might not be great, but I think if you love the game for the right reasons and you put enough work into it, it'll pay off at the end. And I think that's just, you got to keep your enthusiasm. Everyone has their own kind of adrenaline that they work off of. And like I said, enthusiasm. And if you can bring your own unique style of play to the game and you got a bunch of teammates that think similarly, you're going to have a lot of fun and you're going to win a lot while doing it.
And off-season work is like twice as important, right?
That's right. And twice as less fun. So if you can get through off-season work and you enjoy it and you bring the energy every day and you look forward to camaraderie, then once you get to the season and statistics count and you're playing for something, it's easy. So everything's a little bit of a test. You got to trick yourself sometimes. I mean, obviously you're starting to work out and there's going to be days you don't want to come in here and squat, but once you get through the squat, you feel pretty good about yourself.
Yeah.
Your head hangs a little higher.
I love when I finish a workout. I'm so tired, but I just get to go home and relax.
Yeah, I know. Those real hard days and you come home and you just got to get through the shower because you're going to be going to sleep soon. Yeah, those are the days that I miss.
And then once I get home, I can hop on golf VR.
Oh, there you go. So there's still some energy to play video games. All right. I
No.
can't necessarily knock you too hard. I've spent more hours on video games than I know my mom cares for me to do. But sometimes you just got to keep the competitive nature going, and video games is a good avenue for that.
I'm curious how you approached your game once you got to high school because I have a year and a half left until I'm a freshman. Were you dominating travel ball?
I wouldn't say I was dominating travel ball. I moved to Georgia and I was definitely ahead of the curve in athletic ability and baseball ability, just because in Florida you're benefiting from being able to get outside as often as you can. And I think when I got here, a lot of the guys realized that I just spent so many more hours on a baseball field as opposed to in a batting cage or in a facility like this, that I was a little bit more well-rounded. But I wouldn't say I dominated by any means. I mean, I was not very heavily recruited out of high school, and I feel like I basically had to beg everybody that I knew in the country that was a baseball coach or had ties to a baseball coach to give me a chance. And
Yeah.
I was able to get one, but no, I was just I was consistent. I wasn't going to be the guy on the field that came out there and hit a light tower home run, but I was going to put the barrel on the ball. I was going to put the ball in play and wasn't going to strike out. And coaches saw the value in me, and I kept getting chances in the lineup, and I started to develop and grow. And I think it's starting to pan out, but I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, you know?
Yeah. Were you always like that power hitter or player?
No, in high school, I think I had a total of maybe 10 or 11 home runs throughout 4 years, which is not, I mean, yeah, I didn't hit many home runs in high school. I hit a lot of doubles, which is also surprising because I wasn't very fast, but this last season was pretty much the biggest power surge I've had in terms of home runs.
How do you think that happened?
I think I really devoted time to my body physically, and I was able to kind of lean up just a hair. I'm not going to say that I turned into this monster, but being able to put my energy into the right spots and having the time to do so, I was able to clean up some of the edges.
Do you think there was a difference between travel ball and high school ball?
Definitely. I think there's certain divisions, or I guess conferences in high school, that have very talented programs, but when you start talking about travel ball, you got to think the travel ball teams, especially some of the really good ones, and there's tiers to travel ball, which everybody knows. I think some of the better guys are getting on some of the more select teams, and on a everyday basis, you're just seeing a little bit more consistency in travel ball. Now, I'm not sure if that's still the same. I just know that when I was going through high school and I was playing travel ball, I knew that high school baseball was a little less stressful for me because I was playing travel baseball during the week, going to these rigorous practices. And then when I had high school practice and games, I was like, okay, well, we're doing twice as much before this, and the talent's a little bit better. So you kind of get, I feel like it's probably leveled off now, but back then I would definitely say travel baseball was much more competitive in high school.
So you said you played both in high school?
Mhm.
You played both travel ball and high school. Which do you think was like, well, obviously you say travel ball was more competitive, but what do you think like the main difference was? Like the like how would like the players like how am I
Like
supposed
talent?
to, yeah, like talent. How am I supposed to phrase it?
I think you phrased that well. I'd say in terms of talent, it was more well-rounded, to where if you have 5 starters on your high school team,
Okay.
maybe 3 of those starters are going to be really good, and you're going to be like, wow, this is one of their better guys. We gotta bring it today. Now in travel ball, the same age group, you're probably going to be having to lock it in for 5 guys on a 5-man rotation from a pitching staff. The bullpens are probably a little bit deeper. The bullpens probably are a little, I'll say were, not are, because I don't know what it is today. I haven't been around travel baseball a lot, but when I was going through, it was definitely just more power as hitters. So when you're playing defense, the guys could hit a little bit better 1 through 9, as opposed to a lot of high schools. You might have 1 through 4, 1 through 5, and 6 are really strong hitters. But nowadays it's a lot more versatile, I feel like, and you're going to see that talent throughout.
Do you think there was a difference between recruiters and scouts watching you from travel? And
Most definitely. Oh my gosh. My high school went to St. Pius and we didn't get a whole lot of scouts, I feel like. Maybe I just wasn't necessarily in a position to be looking in the stands and noticing crowds, but playing travel baseball, I played for the Atlanta Blue Jays. I played for Team Mizuno with Ron Rocca and all my local Boca Raton rec ball boys. And I mean, you go to a World Woodbat Classic tournament down in Jupiter or Fort Myers, and you can't even get your family members to find a seat in the grandstands because they're full of scouts. So yeah, I don't think that there's much comparison there at all, unless you've got an absolute dude on your high school team bringing in some scouts.
um, so so when you got to FSU, were you a catcher already, or do you play other positions?
I came in to Florida State as a extremely raw and unprepared first baseman. I had
Okay.
caught my entire life. I caught all the way up to the fall of my freshman year at Tallahassee Community College, and we had three very solid catchers on the roster, and then we didn't really have many first basemen, so we're kind of thrown over at first, and it was who can get the job done the best, because the catching is so close that we're not going to lose a lot of games because of the difference in abilities of catchers. But yeah, I was thrown at first base, and Florida State had a need for a first baseman, and obviously it was my dream school to go to, and playing first base sounded really exciting at the time. So no, yeah.
So my dad said being catcher is like the quickest way to make the team you want to play for. Was that true? Or were like there a lot of catchers?
Being a catcher in general in professional baseball is a very, very good idea to getting to where everybody dreams to being as a major leaguer. I think it really depends on your organizational talent. And luckily for me, I spent the whole year in Erie playing with one of the best defensive catchers I've ever played with, Dylan Dingler. And the guy's got an absolute cannon. He receives the ball well and he manages the staff like I've never seen before. So I think being able to watch him hold down the two position, it gave me a lot of perspective of what the job's going to entail. And just kind of how to be a pro at it, because like I said, the last level I taught was in high school. So seeing the catchers have the success in pro ball is a really exciting thing.
Besides switching from wood bat, obviously, what was the biggest difference between professional ball and college?
Ooh, I would say similar to your comparison earlier about travel baseball and high school baseball, it's the consistency. So from professional baseball, from college baseball, you're going to have a handful of guys throwing mid to upper 90s. When I was going through, now everyone's throwing upper 90s. You got the guy from Tennessee throwing over 100. Like, that was pretty rare. I mean, we had Kyle Birdie at Louisville throwing 100, but there weren't many guys getting that high. But the difference, I'd say, is the speed of the game. I mean, the pitchers are throwing harder, more regularly. The hitters are hitting the ball harder, more regularly, and then they're just running faster. So you got to be a lot more crisp and a lot more direct with your thinking on defense. And offensively, you better have a plan or an approach, or you're already behind and there hasn't been a pitch come through yet. So I think that there's a lot that there's a big jump from college to professional, but you gradually start to feel that change.
Did you like get down or discouraged at first? And if so, what did you do to overcome that? Thank you.
When I was getting into pro ball?
Yeah.
There was I don't think I'd say I really got discouraged. I got frustrated, but I knew that there was going to be a learning curve, but at the same time, I came out of college as a senior, so I was a pretty mature guy in that setting where you're playing with high school kids that never went to college. You're playing with Latin American players who have been signed since they were 15. So I feel like the age thing always kept me level-headed to where I know I'm not doing well, but I was able to kind of think in a way of, if I'm not doing well, what could I be doing to make myself a little bit more satisfied? Whereas you see some of these young guys get frustrated and they go into a spiral because they're not necessarily sure what to think next. So to say discouraged, no, but there was a lot of frustration because I had the freedom to try some new swing styles, and it might not have worked right away. And I learned that wasn't the way I wanted to go about it.
So here we go. Like I said in the intro, Last year, you led AA with 31 home runs. That's a big raise since hitting 7 as a freshman at FSU in
Right.
2015.
Yep.
What do you think led to your huge power surge this season?
You brought up Florida State. We had a pretty hands-on coaching staff at Florida State where there was a pretty specific swing style. There was a very specific stance that they wanted a lot of us in, that they felt like we couldn't get the job done with our natural abilities. And I think the further I was able to get past what was going on offensively in college, getting into pro ball, I had all the freedom in the world and I could do whatever I wanted. I needed a little bit of guidance in that regard. And once I was able to get some pointers from a few people and think outside the box, incorporate golf into it big time, I got confident in kind of trusting that my swing was my swing, my stance was my stance. What I wanted to do is what I was doing in the game. And I think the more confident that I got over the years with developing my swing and not doing what my college coaches wanted me to do, the more success that I've seen and the more ability I feel like I have. So I think it was just the freedom of not being micromanaged, because everybody has different movements, everyone has different flexibility and capabilities, and you can't just be funneled into an assembly line and be manufactured like the old Ford was. Everyone has a unique swing. You see, Sammy Sosa doesn't have the same swing as Ken Griffey Jr. type deal. So everybody's different, and you gotta respect that aspect of sports.
So this season, but the first time I met you, I asked you what bat you used, and you said I use my teammates' bats like hand-me-downs. Are you gonna like change that, or are you thinking of a bat that you're gonna use just like as a main?
I mean, I'm not a top prospect by any means. So a lot of these prospect teammates and guys in pro ball, they've got these bad deals, or they get a lot of people to send them equipment. And for me, I've just been winging it, getting through seasons with broken bats that guys either don't like, they might be a little warped. And then this past year, I actually got in touch with Birdman Bat, and they really hooked me up with some good deals, and not to mention a high quality wood bat. And I feel like if I'm going to order bats for myself, I'll order them through Birdman. I think the logo is cooler than any other logo. It's unique. I love being different, and their logo screams that. And then on top of that, the quality of the wood that they use and the way that they cut their bats is something that I really liked, and I'll definitely be going back for them for some bats in the future.
Mm-hmm. So as you head into 2023, what are a few goals that you have as a player?
I always have one goal, and my one goal is to simplify things. When I go through the season, there's a lot of time during the year where I guess you could say slumps happen, or scatterbrain, I like to say, happened, and I like to go back and I kind of like to replay those weeks or games or series in my head, and then realize, okay, I wish I would have done this differently. And I think with like mechanics of a swing, mechanics of what you're doing defensively, I think that's the biggest thing, getting my body physically in a position to be able to make it look a little easier. And if I'm making it look easier and I'm getting the job done, I think a lot of people are going to take notice, and we'll see what happens there, because the most time spent on something is probably my thought process. I think it's how you think. You got to be able to critically think and problem solve and make adjustments on the fly. So if you can really put yourself to the limit in the off season and you train the way that you should, your ability on field is going to be easier, which then gives you a lot more effort to put into your thinking.
So we're almost done, but before the last part, do you have any questions for me?
I'd say, since you've asked me about my development and change, I want to know, since I don't know much about it anymore, what would you say the difference between travel ball and school ball is?
So actually, my school does not have sports.
Whoa!
My middle school does not have any. They have a small basketball team, but that's it.
They only have basketball.
Kinda, yeah.
Wow! So that's why you come out here and you get your sports in.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I come here. That's why I play travel ball.
Now your high school has sports.
Yes,
okay.
my school has.
Have you been to some games?
I've been not to Duluth. No, not to Duluth, but I'm pretty sure I'll go.
I'll follow up on the difference between high school ball and travel ball with you then.
I'm talking to the coach, the baseball team.
Are you?
Yeah.
Good.
Mm.
My next question I want to have is when you swing, since I did see you swing a few times, what is your thought? What is your
I try to like before I swing, I look where the fielders are. So if there's like a big gap between center field and right field, I kind of aim for it, and I notice how the pitcher's pitching. If they're fast, I'll sit on it a little bit and try to
Alright.
drive it.
I love it. Hey, I bet you are one of the few guys at your level that are thinking approach like that, because that is building an approach. And that's one of the most important things a hitter can do.
Is that it?
I think that's it.
Oh.
Yeah, until the next one.
So Q, we made it to the not so rapid fire questions.
Alright.
You can answer with as much result info as you want. You ready for this?
Okay.
New York, Tallahassee, or Gwinnett County?
Tallahassee.
Tallahassee. How did you end up in Gwinnett?
Gwinnett.
Yeah, or Georgia.
Oh, Atlanta? Man, my mother got remarried to her high school sweetheart, and we just up and left. We moved from Boca Raton, Florida to Atlanta, Georgia, and we've been here since I graduated from St. Pius.
What pitcher do you really want to face?
DeGrom, because everyone says he's so difficult, but
He's so difficult.
I'm not seeing it because he's throwing all the same pitches you see everyone else throw.
My mom always wants to know, do you have any game day or at bat superstitions?
I don't think I'm very superstitious, but I've got some friends of mine that think I'm superstitious. I draw the same thing in the dirt before every at bat, so I guess some would say that that's pretty superstitious. I draw a cross and then I draw some numbers, sometimes varies.
Just like 1, 2,
Yeah,
3.
1, 2.
I always, with my left hand, I always draw like a V. Like,
So you're superstitious.
Kinda.
All right.
Like if the plate's like dirty a lot, I try to undirty it.
With your bat.
My
That's
bad.
the umpire's job.
That's true.
That's fair though. You got to be able to see it. We won't go on any more of my superstitions. We'll leave it at the drawing.
So can you cook? And if so, what meal do you make really well?
I can cook with the best of them, and I might be biased, but I think my best meal is probably breakfast of some sort. I make good breakfast burritos, breakfast sandwiches, breakfast bagels, Waffle House inspired hash brown bowls. I think I'm pretty good at Italian pasta night. I've only made a few dishes, but every time I've made them, I've won more of it. So I like my cooking skills. While you're trying to get dinner?
Sure.
No.
Why should anyone choose Florida State University over Florida?
It's just every way all around better. If you don't want to have to hop on the bus for class and you want to be able to have a nice 10-minute walk in about 65-degree weather in the morning, you'd go to Florida State over the University of them.
What is your all-time favorite baseball movie?
Baseball movie, man. Either The Rookie or A League of Their Own.
Okay.
Where the girls wear the dresses with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Big Tom Hanks fan.
Big Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Forrest Gump's my favorite.
Forrest Gump?
Yeah, but that's not baseball. It's just the side
kind of football.
Kind of football, yeah.
Last one. What is your favorite baseball memory as a player fan?
Oh, walk off against Florida. Sent them home in the 12th inning at our place. Yep. That's it. Only because you guys are Florida family.
Okay.
I have others, but I'm gonna leave it with that one.
Quincy and the Nieporte, thank you not so much for being a Florida State fan, but thank you so much for this interview. Did you have fun today?
I loved it. Yeah, this was awesome.
Anything else you want to share?
Keep going. I mean, keep doing all your interviews and keep the podcast up and running because a lot of people love them.
You can follow. Before I finish, I have a few things to give you here.
Awesome.
Our podcast shirts and a limited edition podcast sticker.
All the swag.
Podcast pin.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Both of those on the shirts.
I will. The sticker's gonna come off. I'll wear the pin with it.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Put a sticker on like your
It's
water
really
bottle.
cool. It's awesome what you're doing.
So you can follow Quincy at Quincy Nieporte on Instagram. That's at QUINCYNIEPORTE
Yeah.
on Instagram.
It's my advertiser.
And you can help my show by subscribing to Baseball Podcaster Fun on Spotify and YouTube, and following at Baseball Podcaster Fun on Instagram. Please check in next week for a brand new episode. Until then, that was Quincy Nieporte. I'm Grayson Knight, and this was Baseball Podcaster Fun. Don't
Awesome.
forget to swing for the fences. See ya!